So in terms of Nasir Adderley, like I mentioned, we'll cover him quite a bit, but it is notable that, he and Ronaldo Hill did imply that Nasir Adderley was going to be playing a little bit more in the cornerback position, maybe playing in the slot somewhat, which is what the Chargers were planning to do last season until Derwin James got hurt. There were several reports that, he had been taking repetitions and in the slot cornerback position. And obviously, that didn't pan out. He had to play single high safety so often that I think it really just didn't, similar to Murray, it didn't allow him to play to the best of his abilities. And so we'll have to see. I think my biggest concern with Adderley is just that it never really felt like he trusted his instincts. So maybe that's a little bit of him being out of place and feeling out of place. So, if they're able to use him as a cornerback a little bit more often, get him in coverage, and kind of use him like their version of Minkah Fitzpatrick and like they do this with the Steelers, I think that would be the best thing possible for him.
I can't tell if Alex is delayed.
I'm just waiting.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I'm happy to see Adderley takes slot corner or any kind of corner snaps in general. John Johnson played the 5th most slot snaps last season among starting safeties. So I believe he'll kind of have something similar to that, I suppose. I guess if I'm looking at this defense, Derwin James is much better, but is Derwin James the Jordan Fuller of this defense and John Johnson is the Nasir Adderley? Is that how it's going to work? Because it feels like John Johnson was playing more of that deep safety role. And I assume, even though they'll kind of play interchangeably, that Fuller was more that closer to line of scrimmage guy. So that's where Derwin James is going to play. Because I kept hearing all offseason that John Johnson and Derwin James were kind of redundant. And in some ways they are. But I kind of feel like John Johnson is more Nasir Adderley and Jordan Fuller is more Derwin James. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. In talking with Ryan Dyrud, who's obviously watched the Rams defense a lot more than I have, it seems like John Johnson and Jordan Fuller were kind of pieces that moved around quite a bit, whether that's as a deep safety in the slot or in the box. And then they had, I think it's Taylor Rapp or Caleb Rapp. He was kind of their dime linebacker, Adrian Phillips, who would almost exclusively play in the box and in the slot. But I think that's the kind of the beauty and the mystery of Brandon Staley's defense, from what I've read, is that everybody gets moved around. And Ryan, I was texting with him a couple of weeks ago, and he said that we might be seeing Chris Harris take some reps at safety, and maybe even Asante Samuel Jr. taking reps at safety. Not a ton, but just kind of exploiting their athleticism, their instinctiveness, and matchups. Frankly, I think that's kind of the name of the game, and that's kind of been, we've moved from versatility being the buzzword to matchups being the buzzword, and how Brandon Staley is just trying to really use all of their defensive players and offensive players to create mismatches. So long answer short is that Derwin James and John Johnson, I think, are very similar players in how they were used. Obviously, I think Derwin's a little bit better of an athlete, but I do expect Derwin to be kind of used as that chess piece, being moved all over the field more than any other player. But I do think Nas will take some reps in the slot and move out of safety, but I think Derwin James is really going to, be everywhere.
No, that's understandable. Alex, I don't know if you're delayed, so I'm just going to keep talking. I was just looking at, the numbers of the stats for these guys. It was like, I think John Johnson took 160 something snaps in the slot, whereas Rapp and Fuller were like 50 each or something like that. So I'm just trying to figure out like who is going to be that more like slot kind of guy and who's going to be more whatever. I don't know. I'm so excited to figure out whoever the hell it is, because it's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could have had, Derwin James or, we talked a lot about John Johnson in free agency. I think they were just more redundant, not from the way they played, but just from the way that they were both the signal caller. So, you could have got a guy that was more familiar with Brandon Staley's defense, and I don't think that would have been a bad thing, especially since he ended up not really costing anything. Now the Chargers have all this salary cap space that they didn't use, so that's fun. But we'll see kind of how that pans out. But I think just having both of them could have been a little redundant, and then it just would have brought more questions of like, are we going to use that early or are we not going to use them? So that whole discussion when they let Rayshon walk. So yeah,
I mean, it's pretty clear that they trust in Nasir Adderley, that they think that he has some untapped potential for them to be able to manifest and be able to use him as a key player. And he's going to have to, right? Like, because we've talked a little bit about, our concerns of the depth of the safety position or DB room, however you want to say it. And frankly, they have 4 bodies who play safety. And so Nasir Adderley is going to have to be, that kind of player. And so is Derwin James.